All right, I've gone full heel turn. I have. There's nothing. Look, we're going to talk Eagles and Commanders and preview the game, but we're going to have to dive into my full-fledged heel turn on the Sixers last night and the riot it seems that Mr. Nice Guy Phil has incited on social media. Don't go anywhere. Trending in the AM and Overreaction Monday starts in 30 seconds.
Holding, gets around in front. Joel Embiid,
and Philadelphia has it.
And a very good morning, everybody, and welcome to Trending in the AM right here on DSM Media. We're live across all social media platforms. Actually, no, there's no Facebook today. I don't know what's going on Facebook. We aren't live there, but we're on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. So make sure you like, share, retweet all those social media platforms. I am your host, Phil Stifle at Beard and Knowledge, and we got Jason Voorhees sitting next to me at Mustang 3651. This is going to be a full-fledged Eagles, Washington Commanders Monday Night Football preview show. But Jason, I incited a riot last night. I went full heel mode last night, and I want to talk about it to start. You know, I'm tired of being Mr. Nice Guy. Make sure you do me a favor, guys. Hit the like button, comments on the YouTube page. Hit the subscribe button as well as we continue to build the YouTube community. Good morning, Jason. Do I look different? Because I feel different today.
Well, yeah, I've observed the Spider-Man to Thanos switch overnight. I mean, you basically became the villain in less than 5 seconds with that series of tweets that you sent out last night. And wow, it's been pretty
it's been entertaining. That will say the least. It was entertaining. Look, I feel like I actually kind of felt cathartic saying instead of saying what was the nice thing to say, being just honest. And okay, guys, so here's where I've gone villain. Yes, Joel Embiid and the Sixers last night beat the Utah Jazz by 7, and Joel Embiid put up a Herculean performance last night. 59 points, 11 boards, 8 assists, 7 blocks. I mean, the big man was straight dominant last night. There is no doubt about it. Back-to-back games, played 40 the night before minutes, 37 last night. Herculean, Superman-esque performance. But my question to everybody is, why isn't he doesn't have to put up 59 points every night, but why isn't he the dominant, awesome top 5 player every single night? Because he should be. He is that damn good that he should be Hercules. He should be Superman every night. He's capable of doing that. But he doesn't, because there's excuses. He's tired. He's 7'2", 285. He mopes around. He does this. When things don't go his way, he gets upset. I don't want anybody to think I'm taking away anything from his performance last night, because that's what I got a lot of responses. Well, he put up, how can you say anything negative? Look at the game. It's November. Who cares about November? I want it in June. I want it when it matters the most. A random November game means nothing to me. So, Jason, am I totally out of line thinking this? I think we lost Jason. Jason is no longer part of the show this morning. He has disappeared. So I'm just going to keep going on then. I'm just going to continue reminding people about what's going on here. I want to read a couple tweets that I put out there last night. The first one. Why do we get excited about a rando cool stat line in November? Doesn't make you a title winner or a contender. Gotta do it consistently. Dominate, not score 50. Why am I the bad guy for pointing out the obvious? And that's what really irks me. It literally has nothing to do with last night's game specifically. All it has to do is that Joel Embiid has these. This is not the first time Joel Embiid has had a super stud performance. Not the first time. Not even close to the first time. This is not year 1 of the process or year 2. This is year 6? We've seen this year in and year out. Jason, welcome back.
Technical difficulties, man.
Well, because I've set the world ablaze that your computer can't even work anymore.
Holy crap.
I know. So I read one of the tweets. I'm going to read one more of these tweets real quick. I'm going full heel turn on the Sixers and Joel Embiid. But and it goes on, tired of being okay with rando, historic Superman efforts in November, and then becoming the invisible woman when it matters. I want the best big man to actually be the best big man. No more excuses. Win me a title. All I'm being, Jason, is honest. Am I wrong for being honest at least?
I think people are misunderstanding what you're trying to say here or put out there. I think the thing is that, let's face it, the performance he put up last night was an all-time performance for Joel Embiid. I mean, he's the first player to ever do that, to put up that many points, that many rebounds, that many assists, and that many blocks in a game. So we're not saying that the performance wasn't great, and that's not what you're saying. But what you're saying is that if you're going to come out and do this on one night, why are you, 4 games ago coming out and putting up 22 points or whatever it is? Your point that you're making is that you should be dominating every single game. You should be playing with the same energy every game. There shouldn't be excuses. And then at the end of the day, by the way, how about in the playoffs, show up and don't get hurt and have these kind of performances in the playoffs when it really matters?
We've been getting excuses for literally, how long has Joel Embiid been here? 6, 7 years now he's been playing. It's always an excuse. And yes, last night was phenomenal. Sorry, Penelope's been barking a lot. She doesn't like me doing shows and nobody watching her and giving her attention. She wants some attention. She knows I need some attention and loving right now. I just want this night in and night out. I want to be able to see the results at the end. This is no more excuses. That's really what it comes down to. Again, last night, he proved last night why he's one of the best big men ever. Not just right now, ever. And yet, we're supposed to be excited about this. And I want to be excited about last night. I want to be excited that we just won back-to-back home games. I want to be excited beating the best team in the West right now. How they're the best team in the West, I have no idea. How Kelly Olynyk is still starting in the NBA, I have no idea. But this we said 2 things on Sixers pregame show last night. Yes, Jason. I said the Sixers needed to empty the tank because they got 4 days off in a row now. They did that. Joel Embiid emptied the tank. Great. But we also had, I believe it was Scotty or Dylan said, does anybody care if they lost that game? Because a random game in November will not have an effect on what's going on in June. It means the same thing with Joel Embiid. In an 82-game season, it's just like baseball. Losing a tough game in June, does it have an effect in September or October? Last night's game was great. But it means nothing if Joel Embiid is not playing as the guy he should be playing come June. I just want consistency. I just want no excuses. I just want the damn title. So I don't care about 59 points in November because all that does is prove that he's capable of doing it. And I want him to do it night in and night out.
For me, listen, I want to praise the performance. It was an absolute amazing game that Joel put up. But I think the problem that arises is not Joel's performance. I think what Joel's performance shows me is that there's glaring issues on this team when you have to have a Herculean effort every single game from a superstar, and then you look at the point spread between his points and then the next best player, who was Tyrese Maxey at 18, and after that it's like drops off under 10. There's a problem with this roster. The roster is flawed. That to me is Daryl Morey. I know listen, I've bashed Doc Rivers for how many, since last year.
Yeah.
But I think Daryl Morey's the one that shouldn't be getting a pass. Why does this guy basically float on water, like he's this superstar GM?
You used the phrase "float on water" there, and that's that's kind of what Joel Embiid does. We see Joel Embiid have these performances, and then when one person criticizes them, it's the end of the world. Yes, maybe my timing of my criticism of Joel Embiid was off a little bit, but it doesn't make it any less true. We can criticize people in this city, not bash, criticize. That's all it is. It's criticizing, not bashing. And why can we? There's certain people. There's Jalen Hurts, Joel Embiid, Bryce Harper. You know that because you criticized Bryce Harper last year. You had a similar response to you when it happened. Hey, maybe this turns Joel Embiid into the MVP that we want him to be, just like you turned in Bryce Harper into the MVP last year. There's certain people that are put on a pedestal that are, not allowed to be criticized in this city. And I just think it's time to say, and I said it on Friday as well, when are we going to have the tough conversation that Joel Embiid, while he's a great player, can do more, needs to do more, needs to follow through with all. I said it on Twitter, less talky, more walky. That's what I want from Joel Embiid. Night in and night out, not 59 points, but night in and night out to give 110% effort and lead this team by example. That's all I'm asking for, Jason. Is that too much to ask for?
No, because I think at the end of the day, if everybody wants to put Joel on that pedestal, then there needs to be results on a daily basis, not just, a 42-point game, a 59-point game, and then the bottom falls out. Like, we need consistency of results. So, meaning Joel needs to carry the team day in and day out. And if you're going to say that he's capable of doing that, then he needs to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You can't all of a sudden have the same argument and say, oh, well, why are we criticizing a guy when he had 59 points? I don't think you're criticizing the guy for last night. You're criticizing the larger scale picture, which is,
if you want to criticize Jalen Hurts is in his second year as a starter. It's not like he's been there done. We are in the 7th season of Joel Embiid playing, not counting the years he sat and didn't play. His 7th year on the court. This is not something new. We've got a picture that's been painted. We've been down this road before. It's put up or shut up time. Jalen Hurts, if you want to criticize Jalen Hurts, all right, he's got 20? Well, no, we're pretty far into this season now. He's 25 starts into his career. He's a year and a half into his career, really, as a starter. Maybe you could justify that, some highs and some lows at this point. But 6 years from now, we'll expect it night in and night out. Joel Embiid, I expect this night in and night out from Joel Embiid. The effort, that's all. The leadership, that's all. I don't care about the 59 points. And that 59 points means nothing come June is if in the first round he doesn't get the foul calls, or we have to play Boston, who shuts him down every single time, and he comes up small. It means nothing if we're out in the first or second round. Literally nothing. I don't know.
I mean,
kind of feels cathartic getting this all off my chest here.
I can't disagree with you. I just think I'm seeing I'm trying to look at it from an outside perspective, kind of being on the other side. I think what people are missing here is that I think they're not understanding what you're saying.
Yeah.
I think they're taking it that you're criticizing a guy in a game in which he played one of his arguably best performances, which you are, but you're not criticizing that game because that game in the scheme of things means zero. That game means zero in the scheme of things. If the Sixers go out at the end of the year, as you said, and make the playoffs and are out in round 1 or 2, we said this year it is basically make to the Eastern Conference Finals or bust. And, so far this team's been very disappointing. But I will say, and I say this every show, I do, across all sports, I believe that having adversity in a regular season is a good thing. You need that to be playoff, you need that to be battle tested once you get to that end result.
Absolutely.
And I think the fact of the matter is right now what I am seeing from Joel Embiid this last couple games, maybe that's what's happening here. Maybe he's kind of realized like, yo, I got to get back to being Joel Embiid and carry this team. Now, is it going to continue? I think that's the question.
It's not whether it'll continue; it's whether he'll do it consistently. And it's I'm just looking at the big picture here. Yeah, last night, I watched that whole game, first tip to last second. That was an amazing performance. You do not see big men put up those kind of numbers. You just don't. But I just can't get over the fact that his that he can't do it. You look at last night. So if in 40 plus minutes, does it mean nothing? It means something. Individual performances mean a lot in the moment, but big picture, do they mean? So Joel Embiid can go out and score 40 points a night for the next 3 weeks, but then if he comes out in June in the first round of the playoffs and gets shut down and we get eliminated, in a first round of the playoffs, do these performances mean anything? No.
Well, they mean something for him individually.
They mean something individually.
That he's playing at a high level, and that he's, showing that once again he should be an MVP. And listen, we all agree that he's been kind of cheated. He should have won at least one MVP by now. I get it that the other guy gets all the accolades, but I think Joel, if he does do that, if he goes out and scores 40 points a night, he's obviously going to be an MVP. But you're right. Is he going to win a championship? Because to me, that's the ultimate goal. We said it with the Phillies. Like, they made it 2 games within 2 games of the World Series. And at the end of the day, they lost. Now, do we praise them? Yes, we praise the run because they weren't expected to be there. But we're not talking about the Phillies. We're talking about the Sixers, who have a roster that year in and year out should contend for a championship and hasn't made it past the second round of the playoffs, which, to be frank, is disappointing. It is. It's very disappointing.
So why watch the regular season then?
That's a good question.
This is where. Well, first off, because I'm a glutton for punishment, and because I'm a sports addict. That's why. But realistically speaking, this is where the misunderstanding is coming from. This is not the first year of this. This is year 7 of showing at times that Joel Embiid is the best player on the court at any given day, but does not do it consistently. That's all I am trying to say. 3 or 4 games in a row of domination, and then you'll get 3 games of moping around, using your word, Scotty, mopey. That's the problem. That's the picture I am trying to paint here. It's that, yeah, he's so good, but he doesn't do it all the time because of this excuse or that excuse or that excuse or this. Guys, I'm just trying to paint the picture that this isn't the first time he's done this. It's the first time he scored 59 points because it was a career high, but we just won it consistently. They could do it consistently. That's all I'm saying. Lead by example. Make no excuses. If they come out and drop an egg on Friday night, their next game, and it's Joel Embiid comes out and plays terribly, man up, accept responsibility. There's a thing right there, Jason. When the shit hits the fan with the Sixers, nobody ever takes accountability.
Can I ask you an honest question? And I'm curious about this because obviously I don't profess to be the knowledgeable basketball fan that you are. But I guess my question to you is, if James Harden is in this lineup, does Embiid have that kind of a performance, like stat wise?
Maybe. Maybe not. Obviously James Harden, gets his points and gets his shots up. But, that game last night specifically against Utah was a matchup nightmare for Utah. They don't have a guy that could stop Joel Embiid. So, I mean,
I'm saying
once
I
he
guess
started getting hot last night, you had to keep feeding him the ball because you knew that they weren't going to be able to stop him.
maybe I should rephrase my question. Maybe I should rephrase it as, if James Harden is in this lineup, is Joel Embiid needed to be that big, carry a team? The way that you're talking.
Were we winning that many games earlier in the season when James Harden was still in the lineup?
We weren't, but we weren't. But do you not agree that James Harden looked like the James Harden of old? And if that continued long term, this team had a good chance of being better. I'm not talking about the short sample size, because they obviously started off disappointing and slow as far as the results. I'm just talking about in general. Don't you think it's kind of like it's just bad luck? Like James Harden gets hurt, and now here we are back to square one, like where Joel has to carry this team. Now, I look at a guy like Tyrese Maxey, who I love. Like we've seen, spurts where Maxey's the best player on the court, but then there's other games where it almost like he disappears. So I don't know where your thoughts are on Maxey at this point in his career either.
Look, what you're saying, the one thing you keep saying is that Joel Embiid has to step up because this guy's out or that guy's out. Well, he needs to. I mean, he wants to be the best player in the NBA. He wants to be the MVP. Well, you got to step up in that case then. That's all it comes down to. If you want to be considered the GREAT, if you want to be the GOAT, you got to make no excuses. I don't care that James Harden's out. I don't care that Tyrese Maxey might be hitting a little bit of a wall. That's all. This is all about Joel Embiid right now, not the team. I want Joel Embiid to step up night in and night out and lead this team on and off the court. That's all. That's all. That's all I'm asking for.
Fair enough.
That's all.
I mean, I can't disagree with you.
Yeah, if you're the best, you have to step up. You can't take nights off. And if you take a night off in effectiveness manner, like say he's not scoring because, like I always go to Boston because Boston, it doesn't matter who's coaching Boston. Boston has a game plan to stop Joel Embiid every single game that we play against Boston. Well, you can still lead other ways. You can lead off the court. You can lead in the locker room. You can lead with your energy. When things don't go Joel's way, you see his shoulders sulk, his head, the way he runs up and down the court like a caveman. Like, he legitly sulks. Well, all right, they're stopping you. Find another way to affect the game. You see it with James Harden. You saw it last year with James Harden. He on the bench, something Tyrese Maxey does. He pulls Tyrese Maxey aside, coaches him up. Where's Joel Embiid coaching up his team? Just saying, there's other ways to affect. You don't have to score 59 points to be the best. You can affect games so many different ways. And we just don't see it. That's all I'm asking for. That's it. That is it.
Well, that was a mic drop.
Yeah. Today's show is brought to you by Gents Barber Lounge. Check out one of their 2 great locations in Fishtown and Old City and book your appointment today. Gents owns the craft and it shows. Rated the #1 barbershop on Yelp in the Philadelphia area. They have multiple award-winning barbers, and they're able to handle any style cut, adult or kid. Check out their great work here. All right, we're back here trending in the AM right here on DSM and DSM Media. I'm Phil Stiefel, Jason Voorhees. Look, I want to move on. We got 4 days till the next Sixers game. No excuses on Friday. We'll talk more Sixers. I'm going to keep going this week on this Joel Embiid topic, probably nonstop all week. But we got an Eagles Monday Night Football matchup against the Washington Commanders. The Commies are in town tonight. A different Commies team than we faced a few weeks back. And I'm getting a sense, Jason, a lot of, I don't want to use the word negativity, but a lot of Eagles fans that are feeling not so confident in their 8-0 squad going into Monday Night Football tonight? Just ballpark, big picture, before we get to the X's and O's specifically. How's your gut feeling telling you going into tonight? Are you feeling good about the game tonight?
I feel great about the game. I don't know who's not feeling good. I'm sure I haven't really been on social media a ton lately, but I mean, I don't see a way. I get that the Commanders are a division team and they're a division rival, and I get that division games are generally tougher than your average game. But I don't look at this as being a team that hasn't shown an ability to succeed after every momentum type switch. I mean, you've been on how long of a rest here? You played the last time they played.
The schedule's been brutal.
The last game they played, the Phillies were in the World Series. That's how long ago it was. And that seems like that was like eons ago. So, yeah, that was a Thursday night game, which, by the way, we played we won the game, but we didn't play up to our standards in that game. So I think that, to me, in itself, should have been a wake-up call to the team to say, hey, guys, we need to start, we got to get back to the drawing board. Now you've had this long layoff. I mean, to me, this is the perfect game for the Eagles to come out and just set the tone early and just basically show NFL, we are not going away. We are here. We are the best team in football.
First off, who makes this schedule? You had a bye week, and then a Sunday game, and then a Thursday game, and then a Monday Night Football game. It's literally like
brutal.
It's brutal how the schedule was written for 3 weeks. Completely brutal. But you're right. Look, any given Sunday, we saw again yesterday, Dallas losing yesterday, Buffalo losing to the Vikings. So much is going on. I do get it, and Scotty brings it up. He feels like it's a trap game potentially. Heineke makes him. I don't know if he makes him significantly better. He makes him better, but significantly, I don't know. He gives them a spark and energy, that Carson wasn't giving them. I don't understand what the Eagles have to do to get the respect. Joel Embiid's earned the respect. You can't criticize the guy, and he's never done anything. The Eagles are 8-0. And no one's giving them the respect they need. They deserve at this point. And I think tonight, Monday Night Football, I don't know if you agree or not. I don't know how many Monday Night Football games you've watched. Monday Night Football has become palatable. I know this sounds like totally wrong to say, but Joe Buck and Troy Aikman have improved Monday Night Football massively by them two being the announcers on the thing now. Like, there's going to be a lot of eyes on this game. Prove it. Come out tonight. They can – I'm sure if they win handily tonight, I'm sure that somebody will make an excuse that, well, it was just Washington, it was Tyler Heineke or whatever the excuse will be. I'm sure Cowboys fans still think they're better, than the Eagles, even though they just lost to the Packers yesterday. But this is one of those statement moments. It could be considered a trap game, but it also could be considered a statement game, in my opinion.
I absolutely agree. I mean, there's always an opportunity for a team to come out and kind of come out flat or shit the bed, but I don't see it happening at home.
Right.
I really don't. If it was an away game, I might agree more with Scotty to the fact that this is a trap game, but I think they're going to come out. Like I said, I think this is the perfect time. And if Nick Sirianni has shown one thing, it's that he's shown an ability to get this team up for games that they need to get up for. Now, obviously, the Houston game. Now, you got to remember that game was kind of coming off, the other layoff that they had. And, listen, every team is going to have games where they kind of struggle, on either side of the ball, whether it's offensively, defensively. I just look at this Eagles team and I see one thing that's really not being discussed enough to me. It's not the stats per se, but to me, it's like they're like leading the turnover differential by a major number. I mean, they're up at like plus 15. I think the next best team, which is the Vikings, is at +8. So you're talking about a team that's not turning the ball over a lot, and they are getting a ton of turnovers.
Mhm.
That, to me, is the recipe for success in any NFL, let alone the
Absolutely.
new NFL. And that's
Absolutely.
something that I watch the Eagles do religiously, is that Jalen Hurts is protecting the football. He has 2 interceptions, knock on wood. I mean, he's playing like, I get it. Yeah, he only has 12 touchdown passes, but like I said, I don't look at the numbers. I look at the eye test. And what Jalen Hurts has shown me this year is far and away better than what I even expected, because not only is he playing with that, as you call it, that intangible leadership that he has that extreme calmness at a position where it's hard to be calm. You're front and center of the NFL, like as a quarterback in the NFL. And not only are you front and center in the NFL, you're front and center in Philly, which is one of the toughest markets to play in. And you are basically just playing with just this certain demeanor that I've rarely seen. I've rarely seen quarterbacks be able to keep calm in situations that Jalen Hurts just shows me every single game. He defies any kind of logic what he does. And that, to me, is a reason why I am confident in this game, because I think Jalen Hurts, realistically, to me, he should be the MVP. I know they.
Well, yeah, at this point, he is the favorite as the MVP, especially after Josh Allen, crapped the bed yesterday, throwing a couple picks late in the game. But, to kind of bring it big picture, what you're saying about Jalen Hurts, it kind of links to that Joel Embiid conversation we just had. Like, Jalen Hurts, even when he's not having his best statistical performance or his most effective performance, he finds ways to lead this team, to take them to the next level. Now, it's a much smaller sample size, but he consistently finds ways to motivate and lead this team. And I think that's something that Joel Embiid should be watching Jalen Hurts and seeing what he does to lead this team in practice, on the sideline, during the game, when things don't go right. If Jalen Hurts throws an interception, he's only got 2, but just say he does, or they turn the ball over somehow, whatever. He's not going to go to the sideline and mope. He's going to find a way to turn that negative into a positive. And that leadership ability and that leadership intangible is what Joel Embiid might be lacking a little bit of.
You make a break. You bring up a great point. I think,
not that I want to keep going back to Joel Embiid today, but it keeps lingering in the back of my head.
Well, the thing is that, a lot of time, it's funny because that's all I ever heard about Jalen Hurts is that, oh, well, maybe he is a good leader, but he's not a good quarterback, or he doesn't have arm strength, or he can't do this. Like, we heard that every single time, and he's basically shut up every single critic this year with what he's been able to, produce on the football field. But obviously it's not just Jalen Hurts. This team has beat you. They can beat you every way. I mean, the running game we still know is still their strength. Miles Sanders, to me, has been the biggest surprise on the team. So I look to him. I look for Miles Sanders to continue his recent success and continue forward. I think they should pound the ball tonight. I think
that actually leads to one of my keys here for the game today, and one of the key matchups I want to say for today. I don't know if it's a key to the game, but a key matchup. It's the 2 offensive lines for both these teams. The Eagles got I think it was 9 sacks against Carson Wentz the last time we played them. Their offensive line is terrible. They, though, also are a big – they get after the quarterback. Chase Young might be making his season debut tonight. They get after the quarterback. We've been criticizing the Eagles' offensive line, pass protection-wise, not being up to par this year, or whether it ever was up to par. Jordan Mailata kind of hit a wall in his development this year. So how do you effectively stop a strong pass rush? You run the football to your biggest strength, which is your run blocking. Now, we know the Washington, they don't run the ball. They just won't run the football. It doesn't matter whether they get sacked 20 times or 2 times. They won't run the football. But Nick Sirianni has shown a willingness to go to the run game to kind of flip the script, and get away from Jalen Hurts getting hit so many times. So, in my opinion, Jason, which offensive line performs better is going to be one of the biggest keys to tonight's game.
I think it's an excellent point and an excellent key. I think Miles Sanders right now he's averaging over 5 yards a carry. I mean, he's having a career season. I mean, there's no way around it. Like, he's definitely outperformed anything I believe that Miles Sanders could do. Now, obviously, the biggest knock on Miles Sanders is his health. So I'd like to see the Eagles be able to, institute the backup running backs, and have a little bit more success there with guys like Boston Scott, Kenny Gainwell. I've been a little bit down on Kenny Gainwell, and I expected more from him, but that's just me personally.
Right.
But I have to agree with you. I think you run the football, and obviously, you always have the play action. Once you start having success with running, and I like Scotty's point. I think you've seen all year the Eagles have kind of featured different guys each week. It's A.J. Brown one week, it's Dallas Goedert the next week. Well, Devonta Smith's been kind of quiet lately.
Since the last time we played Washington. I mean, he did have 160 yards receiving against Washington.
Exactly. So tonight would be the perfect storm for that kind of a bounce back.
Yeah, absolutely. But on the other side too, it's like, we've been struggling stopping the run of opposing teams. But yet Washington just won't run the football. I got their team. I mean, for a team that's got subpar quarterback play, they have passed the ball 324 times to 239 rushes this season. That's almost 100 pass plays more than run plays. So, I mean, and they've got Antonio Gibson, who is a really talented running back. They got Brian Robinson, a talented rookie. It's great to see him back out there, actually. I just don't understand what Ron Rivera's team is doing there in Washington, that they don't try to take some of the pressure off those quarterbacks by actually utilizing them, those running backs.
I mean, I agree with you. Shout out to Brian Robinson. I mean, what an amazing story. But I think it is pretty pathetic when Brian Robinson is your leading rusher and he missed 5 games. I mean, what does that tell you about? I agree. It's a lack of trying.
He's only averaging 3.3 rushes a carry, and Gibby is only 3.7. So they can't. So why they can't pass block? I guess the offensive line doesn't run block very well either, because these guys are not getting any push when they're running the football.
But you got to look at their attempts, and they're very low in attempts, and that just shows you're right. They're disregarding the running game, regardless of the situation, whether they're in a game or not. They're not running the football, and that could be a problem. I mean, we've seen it with the Eagles when they don't run the football or when they try to shy away from it. That's when you struggle. And you're right; it's the biggest fix to a offensive line that's not performing. We say it in game when we're frustrated as fans and we're watching the Eagles not run the ball, and you're like, why are you throwing so much? Just run the ball. So
what are your thoughts on Taylor Heinicke? So obviously the big difference between the Week 3 game to now is Wentz is not playing, Heinicke is playing. We sacked Wentz 9 times. Carson Wentz is just a statue back there. It's not hard to sack him anymore at this point in his career. Heinicke, he's not a running quarterback, but he's mobile. He avoids the blitz. He's not a talented quarterback, but he does have a little bit, not as much, but a little bit of that Jalen Hurts intangible, leadership type quality. Players seem to react to him a little bit more. Is there any situation? Yeah, I think that's a great term right there. He's a gamer. He's the new Ryan Fitzpatrick, basically, Heinicke, in my opinion. A guy that just has a little magic in him. Not talented, but a little magic in him. Does Heinicke starting over Wentz give you any reason to think that this game will result in anything other than what happened in Week 3, which was we dominated them in Week 3?
No, I think to Scotty's point, Taylor definitely gives this team a better shot in the game. And I will say that since Taylor has taken over the Washington offense, Terry McLaurin is once again relevant. Like Terry McLaurin to me is one of the most underutilized, underappreciated wide receivers in the NFL. Like he's a guy that realistically could be a top 10 wide receiver, but he just has not had good quarterback play since he's come out. And I definitely have seen a rise in Terry McLaurin's number being called since Taylor's taken over. I don't know if there was a miscommunication there or not seeing eye to eye between him and Carson, but there just was no chemistry. You saw it in the first game. Like he hardly was any. I don't know how many catches.
I think it was late in the fourth quarter when they were down
that he
a
had.
lot. They finally threw a few passes to him, and that was it.
And that's what I mean. So he just wasn't even relevant in that game, let alone in that part of the season. But since Taylor's taken over, he's starting to, come around, and I think they have that chemistry. You know how it happens sometimes. Just some quarterbacks just have that mojo with a certain wide receiver, and so I do think that Washington could be a little bit, sneaky. I don't say. Look, I think the Eagles are going to win the game, but I just think Washington will put up a better game. It will be a lot more close. It won't be a blowout.
I don't even know if it'll be close or not. It'll be competitive. That's what I think is the right term there, because Heinicke is a gamer. Heinicke is that leader. Look, I'm not going to say I've watched a lot of Tyler Heinicke games, but I've seen enough to know that the team responds to him. I really think there's a little bit to it. He's a little bit of Jalen Hurts mixed with a little bit of Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Perfect comp.
He's never going to put up he might put up a 400-yard game here or there, but he also might throw a 4-interception game. But he's kind of like Jalen Hurts in the sense where when he throws an interception, because he's going to throw one tonight, he's going to go to the sideline, and he's not going to throw an Aaron Rodgers hissy fit and blame the wide receiver. He's going to go over there and he's going to fire up his team and be like, "Yo, let's get back on the field." And I think there's something to that. And if this game is a trap game, if there's a letdown tonight, it's going to be because Heinicke does something magical and we're just caught off guard. We're caught flat-footed. So there is a slight concern in my mind about tonight just because of him alone. Not because we can't stop Gibson or not because our cornerbacks aren't going to be able to lock down Terry McLaurin. It's going to be a little bit of that flat-footed defense against a little magic from Heinicke. That's the only concern I have at this point.
I got an interesting question for you that I just kind of popped up in my head. Do you think any of the off-field stuff with the Washington organization
that is something I wanted to
drop, the bombshell that dropped, this past week, will have any kind of effect on not maybe just the team, but on this game in particular, since it just came up out of nowhere?
That was going to be one of my next points that I brought up anyway. So you brought it up, so we'll bring it up. And see, I'm torn on how, I don't want to get into Daniel Snyder specifically and everything that's going on. I mean, he's a scumbag. We know that. You know what I mean? One of the worst owners in sports. We know that. So does it affect them on the field? Yes and no. And I'm going to say no for tonight because of two reasons. Taylor Heinicke, he's a gamer. He's one of those magic guys. He's gonna rally up the troops before the game. Yo, who cares about what our bosses are doing? Let's go out there and be professional. Let's do this. Let's show that we can rise above it. That's the kind of guy Tyler Heinicke is. And the other reason why I don't think it'll affect them is because you've got no longer riverboat but paddle boat Ron Rivera, who's he's a veteran, respected, loved coach in this league. And he's been around long enough. I don't want to say even in Carolina. Isn't Carolina's owner, didn't he go through some things? Or didn't Carolina sell their team a few years back?
Yes.
Because of things that went on there? So this is not Ron Rivera's first time dealing with controversy, first time dealing with front office issues. So the leadership of Ron Rivera and Tyler Heinicke, I think, kind of push that to the back burner for now. Now, I'm not saying it won't, but to me, that's going to kind of hide those issues.
So your answer is long-term yes, right now no.
Exactly. I don't know if you agree with that or not, but
No, I do.
Here's the thing, Jason. Like, will it be a big deal? I'm sure tonight on the Monday Night Football broadcast, it'll be brought up in the pregame show. It'll be brought up during the game. I'm sure they'll talk about it. But I don't think the guys in the locker room are talking about it one bit. I don't think they're worried about it one bit. They know they're still getting their paycheck. They still have a job to do, and I don't think it plays a factor in the locker room. It does in the league, and it does on the news cycle and the news stories. But I think there's enough veterans there that it won't play a factor.
I guess that you just answered my question, but I was just curious because will it really be brought up on the show? Because the NFL is kind of being attacked too. And will the NFL even allow that to be,
well, that's another whole can of worms because the NFL should have no say on what a media.
No, I agree with you. I'm just saying.
A media site is supposed to report the news and discuss the news. An entity like the NFL should not control what ESPN puts out, but we do know the NFL has a lot of power in everything that happens in the world. The NFL might be powerful enough to topple a government for all I know. I just that kind of irked me what you just said there because it's so true that will the NFL allow them to talk about it, but they shouldn't have any say. That's just such an issue with sports in general right there.
And that's what's sad. You're right. I was just curious. Like, you just think about it. It's like, wow, the NFL was actually named in that suit as well, not just Dan Snyder. So
yeah, and ESPN should be bigger
blind eye.
But we know the ESPN's not going to want to piss the NFL off or anything like that. So will they? I would be highly, highly surprised if Monday the pregame show doesn't address it. Highly, highly surprised. But I wouldn't be surprised if Joe Buck and Troy Aikman don't try to keep it about football on the field.
If it's mentioned, it'll kind of be like, I'm trying to think of an example. It'll be kind of pushed under the rug, kind of like the Astros cheating thing in the game. Oh, remember that with the bat? Yeah. They mentioned it, and it was just like, a little blip on the radar screen. It'll be like that.
And that's fine because you want it to be about the game and not the other things.
No, so, I agree.
It's a topic. We've covered some very tough topics on this show over the last year or so. It's something I've wanted to talk about. I just haven't. I also haven't read the whole entire lawsuit and all that kind of stuff. So I don't really have enough knowledge to really want to address it too much. But again, Dan Snyder, how he still owns a football team, I have no idea. I know he's put it up for sale or is thinking about putting it up for sale. You better think about putting it up for sale before he's forced to sell it. So, that's a whole can of worms right there that I just don't get. I just don't get it. So, all right. So let's finalize this here. We both think the Eagles are going to win. My game script, how it plays out, is not a Smitty game. It's not Jalen Hurts throwing for 350 yards. This is a game, in my opinion, where Nick Sirianni has to be committed to the run and committed to, pressuring Tyler Heineke. I mean, you might not get 9 sacks like you did last game against Carson Wentz, but you at least got to knock down Heineke and pressure him 9 or 10 times. So I need to see an aggressive run game from the Eagles, an aggressive pressure package from the defense. And if those things happen, this Eagles game, this game is going to go heavily in the Eagles' favor. If we get a 100-yard game from Miles Sanders, 5 sacks, maybe from the defense, a turnover or 2, you're looking at a 10, 12-point victory for the Eagles tonight.
I like it.
What would be your game script, how it plays out tonight?
So I'll just come out with my game script and my score. So I think Eagles win 27-17. I got a 10-point lead, 10-point win. Similar to you, I think it will be a running game. I think they will feature the run. I do think that AJ Brown will get another touchdown. I think he's just that good right now, and he just dominates anybody he faces. So I do think AJ Brown gets a touchdown, but I think the big play will be a big play Slay pick six. I see it coming. Taylor is susceptible to the interception. He has 3 in a short time under the helm, and I think
will give one more concern, and it was my concern going into the game last time. And he had the longest rush of the game, and we held him fairly in check, but he did have 6 or 7 catches. Avonte Maddox being out, I'm concerned again about Curtis Samuel, who sits in that slot. He does jet sweeps. He's running the football. Hell, I think last week I saw him take a direct snap and run up the middle as a running back. So Curtis Samuel's the type of guy that concerns me, and not having Avonte Maddox out there, one of the best slot corners in football, to kind of follow him around the field. Curtis Samuel's a guy. Look, Scary Terry, I know he's a great wide receiver, but big play Slay will be locked down on him. Dotson, their young wide receiver, Bradbury will be all over him. Curtis Samuel's a guy that jumps in that slot, and without Avonte Maddox, it concerns me. You know, it really does. Yeah, Dotson is, at least I thought I heard that he was going to be back. That's why I put Bradbury on him. Curtis Samuel, again, will be the guy. If anything, if like I've got 3 scores written down here, and one of them is 30-27, a close game, Eagles win. But if it's that close game, it's because someone like Curtis Samuel busts a 10-yard slant pass or bubble screen for 50 yards and a touchdown, and that's something that concerns me. So if we need to keep Curtis Samuel in check, and if we do, that kind of takes away one of the weapons. But not having, I would do that too. But they already named, I forget who did they say, Josiah Scott or whoever's going to be the starting slot corner. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, I don't want to change his role. He's been so hot lately, sitting back there. I know he's not going to have 100 interceptions. He's not going to keep up that interception rate. But I don't want to change his role when he's finally settling into that safety role. Jason, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson and Curtis Samuel, thoughts on those 2 guys?
No, I think Chauncey's been perfect in his role, but I don't think that it necessarily precludes them from using him, to cover certain guys. I think you bring up a great point. Like Curtis Samuel's a guy that I'm not saying forgot, because I actually have him on a couple of my fantasy teams, but he's definitely a guy that's like, I think, underutilized. I think he could be better than what he is. He's kind of that Swiss Army knife, do it all-purpose type player. I'm not saying he's Christian McCaffrey-esque, but in some sense,
he's a poor man's Deebo Samuel.
He can't. Yeah, that's actually a perfect comp. Like he's a little bit smaller than Deebo. He's actually very small,
but he runs the same style of routes and same running plays, and he has that same effect. He's a guy that in the right offensive system would be a Pro Bowl level talent, but he was behind DJ Moore in Carolina. Last year he was hurt in Washington, and this year they're just battling with different quarterbacks, and they're just not finding a rhythm. But just because he's not consistently putting up the numbers does not mean you can't be concerned about him or shouldn't be concerned about him. And I'm going to say again, just like I said last game, he's going to be, if we lose or if this is a close game down to the wire, he's going to be the main reason that it's a close game or we're losing a game.
Definitely a valid point, and I agree with you. I think the guy for me to watch, and it would probably be Antonio Gibson, because I think a lot of people are just expecting that he's just dropped off the face of the earth. But lately, he's actually been better as far as what he's brought to their offense, and he's still a guy that he's only 24 years old. Everyone wants to say like, oh, the guy stinks. Like, I find it hard to say that a guy that young stinks. Like,
right.
Maybe he's just not being utilized the right way. Maybe he's not being put in the best positions to succeed. I think you spoke about it. The offensive line woes for Washington are a lot worse than the Eagles' offensive line woes. I think that all kind of goes hand in hand in why their running game has been so poor. But It doesn't mean that they can't run the football. It just means they haven't been able to up to this point. You don't want to be that team that kind of goes in and takes it lightly, especially not having Jordan Davis. And by the way, I haven't heard, how long is he out? Has that?
Well, he was put on the 4-day. He's got the 4-week IR stint he's on.
Okay.
And they've said that this week at practice, he was already back on the field without the ankle boot or the foot boot or whatever the protective boot he was wearing. So in my thought process, that 4 weeks is all he's going to miss. So put him back. I think it's week 12 or week 13. Look, one thing we got to realize here, this is a different Washington team than we played before. They're 3-2 in their last 5 games. Do you realize the plus-minus score, not turnover, score in the last 5 weeks? They're 3-2. If you put all the points they scored against all the points they gave up in the last 5 weeks, there's a 1-point difference. That's it. So to think that they're going to just run away, that they're, 11-point favorites? You got 27-17, I think you said. Yeah, they don't score a lot of points, Washington, but they also don't give up a lot of points lately because this is a different team than what we played before. So I want to say 31-20 or 30-16 or something like that. In my mind, I got to keep thinking that this is going to be a close game. It really is. So I'm going to say 24-17, which is still maybe even 24-20, something like that is how this game is going to play out. It's going to be lower scoring than we think. It's going to be a typical knockdown battle in the division. But come on, guys. We're 8-0. There's no way we're losing this game today. Is that crazy for me to say? It's time to put some respect on this team.
No, why would it be crazy? They're freaking 8-0, man.
Exactly. I mean,
the disrespect is ridiculous. I mean, I get it that a lot of people are like, have and still are down on the Vikings, but I don't know how you can be down on them. I think they are a formidable team. Whether or not we beat them,
let's
we beat the doors off
the
the Vikings. We beat the doors off them, but does that mean that we're necessarily that much better? I mean, sometimes
let's give that little round of applause for the Vikings right there. Knocking off the Bills, winning me a bunch of money yesterday because I called that one. I took the Vikings. I gave extra points. Like it was like I think the Bills were -7 or -6 in the game. I took the Vikings -1.5. So yeah.
Hey, here's one for you. Here's one for you. I put the Justin Jefferson catch above the OBJ catch. I watched them both yesterday. I went back and watched them. My God.
You got to make a video with them side
Justin Jefferson is definitely like the talent that he has is like, and I know we've done that, been there, done that, but just imagine if Howie would have just drafted him instead of Rager. Like,
yep. All right, we're going to wrap this up here, trending in the AM. Time to get to work here for the day. Stay tuned on DSM Media YouTube because I'm sure we're going to have Eagles pregame live tonight, probably around 7 o'clock, a little bit before the game. So make sure you're tapped in, subscribed, and you turn the notifications on. We'd greatly appreciate it. Yeah.
Is Scotty doing Scotty Talks today?
I don't know what else is going on in DSM Media today, but if you got notifications on, you'll never miss when we go live. That's all I got to say. I got to figure out what's going on Facebook page. We'll try to get back to live on Facebook tomorrow. Everybody have a great day. Let's be prepared for a great Eagles game tonight. That's
Go
Jason
Birds.
Voorhees. I am Phil Stiefel. Go Birds. And Joel Embiid. Do better.
And Philadelphia has it.
Holding gets around in front.
Oh, he's got to head to it.